Hello, good morning. Sophie here again. And I'm tired again. Nothing new there. I'm very pleased again because of my new bridges. I've been developing them for quite some time. The LRQC-1, the 2, the 2A, the 2B, and even the Tremolo system. Yes, there is, as of now, a Dorian Tremolo bridge. But more about that right away. By the end of this year, I'm planning on issuing affordable versions of my outrageously expensive guitar designs, like, this one. I should get it done for under $1,000 in retail, recommended retail price. So it will not be that fancy, black, straight, not a compound radius, but something you're used to. I mean, everybody's used to Gibson PRS 12-inch. Why not? Just simplify it. Normal materials, except for the abnormal materials, of course, like the Dorian pickups, the Penta-pickups. And this one is new. You've already seen the LRQC-1. This is the LRQC-2. It's made out of light metal. There's aluminium in it, and magnesium in it, and silica and everything. So it's light metal, and it allows you to string the bridge in 4 different ways, you see? Like just hook in and over the rim, like the LRQC-1, that does that also. Or you can have them go into these holes here, you see? Where is it? Okay, that's like the D string. Down, under, and then you hook the ball end top sides, like this. Here it is. You see it stick over there. Then we have these holes in the front. Yes, there you see them. That is when you want to string it as you would a wraparound bridge. And you put your string in right in the front, and you turn it around and pull it over the rim. Or you put it in the holes, but you don't turn it around. You stick it through those holes in the front, you see? And then you turn it back and back through the hole over. So I'm using the same in my Tremolo bridge. This is not the Tremolo bridge. This is a static one. But in the Tremolo bridge, it's quite interesting to be able to almost bind or knot your strings so tightly that it improves tuning stability whilst doing the tremolo thingy, you see. But this one is a non-tremolo version, and it's I had to find, of course, a design that would help my pickups, a design of a bridge that would fit well my pickups. I'm a bit of a freak for tones. I mean, things like whatever I develop, I always want twang in there, and I always want the jazzy, zooby, smoothie sound in there as well. And I always want the quack, you know, the quack sound. It's typical for some Telecasters and for the most desirable of Stratocasters. It's not only a pickup thing. I mean, if you want to establish some serious quack, and if you don't want to lose your twang and your zooby and your powerful hard rock Harley Davidson growl, you know, you want to keep them all and you want to have them sound equally well, without making sacrifices, without making compromises, well, then everything has to check out. I mean, the pickups have to enable this, and the bridge also, of course, this one. And it sounds great, you know. It's as I'm going to play. This is that's a bridge pickup, you know. A bit rusty. Both middle and middle position, bridge and neck pickup. Now that's the quack. That's the quack. Where is my quack? Why? Quacksky, quacksky. Quacky sound on two apparently humbucker pickups on a mahogany dominant guitar construction. Well, it works. It's yeah, design, material, doing things wrong for just about 1,000 times before you get them right, but this took years. This development. The first one I designed and tried in 2007. The first LRQC. This version, I already designed in 2009, and it has been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, until I finalized it just recently. Everything's coming together. I mean, it's like I'm you know, I'm in front of let's say 20 years ago. I started in front of a mixing panel, you know, like a studio producer, with all those faders, bridge, pickup, electronics, body design, neck design, truss rod design, and every when I get up in the morning, I choose one of those faders and I say, okay, I'm going to work on this one and on this one. And now, after, yeah, it's more than 20 years really, everything comes together and it's mix down time. It's final mix, mastering time. All those things where I've been working on for so many years, bit by bit, they're coming together this year. And a good thing too, because in November 2019, it will be the 40th anniversary of my very first guitar build. So that's I needed some sort of a deadline. I'm not that much for anniversaries, but I needed something of a focus. But okay, I've interrupted myself again. So sound. Okay. Neck pickup. That's a jazzy zooby zooby sound, I mean, you know. Never ending sustain. Oh, I hear the coughs. This is going to go on forever, you know. And good sustain in the highs. I mean, this is a good thing. The studs are not light metal; they are very heavy metal. They are these particular ones are leaded brass, but it works on others equally well. It's a question of taste, which kind of studs you would use. And the adjustment screws here are carbon steel. I tried stainless steel, but no. I tried titanium, but that only works brilliantly on these puppies here, the heavy metal version. This is a tremolo version. I'm going to demonstrate that one in a few minutes. It has those titanium screws. Moving on, you probably remember this one here. My trusted cheapo, sporting the good old Dorian LRQC-1 bridge, but something has changed. I removed the cheap screws and I put in titanium M4 grubbers. You see, they don't cost. Titanium is expensive, but those little things, I mean, 4 millimeter in diameter, 1 centimeter in length. I mean, it's not a huge cost, and they make a whole lot of a difference. Allow me to plug it in. Yes. Here it is. This is a new version of the LRQC-1. It's a bit more, it's easier to install in that the notches, they are smaller. You always have to file on hard chrome plating, because otherwise you have a very thin hard layer straight under your string. And it's what you do on thumb bridges as well. You better file it off down to the nickel. Then you have a better conductivity. But this time they are smaller. The version 1 had very large ones. Very good for luthiers, because if you file like this or if you file like that, you can adapt very easily to different string spacings. From the Telecaster spacing 54 millimeters to the broomstick, I believe it's called, spacing of less than 50 millimeters. But this one doesn't have that range because very few people need it. So I made it easier. Less surface to file. Now it's like tuk, it's ready. I mean, it's not you still have a spacing range and an angle range, but it has been has been compressed. Let's say between 51.5 millimeter and 53 and a bit millimeter. It's smaller, but those are commonly used. So and it's made easier that way, and it has these very small titanium grubbers in there. Wow, she's still cheap. Cheap. And the nice thing is, you know, the alloy, well, how do you call this special Dorian brass alloy? I've decided to call it cat alloy. I could express it in a number like C8 to 5, 6, 7 digits, but cat alloy is a nice thing, because a nice idea, I thought, because I've got two different mixes. I've got cool cat alloy, that's not on here, and that's a brass that evens out everything I do. And there is hot cat alloy, and that's a brass that has almost no very heavy metal additives. It has no lead, no antimony, and that's this type. And I call it hot because hot cat alloy, because it's a very, let's say, it's like an alley cat, you know. The paws are very soft, but when you whack them hard, it goes like this, you know. So very sweet. And then it expresses the energy. It's like if you've got a kind of, let's say, a tone threshold under a certain level of, let's say, striking energy. It sounds like a harp, etheric almost. And then a bit more. And who is there? Who has come into the room? The quack. On a humbucker, no less, you know. You've got your twang. And your quack. It all has to do with how much force, how much energy you exert on the strings themselves. But this one is falling apart. I mean, how old is it? I mean, I needed a cheapo just to have the contrast, so as to be more certain of what has changed. I mean, cheapo. This sounds bad when equipped with its normal the bridge, normal bridge, and normal pickup. I tweaked the pickup too. I put my magnets in it. So I tried this one, this type, the LRQC1, in another version, the LRQC1A, A for aluminium, just to see what the same design, the same dimensions, the same architecture is going to do in a fairly that's a cheap material. I decided why not make it out of 6061. It's what the most widely used aluminium in the world. I mean, for doors and cars, and it's used all over the place. It was a bit disappointing. I think I'm going to, but it's a good reference. I mean, with you saw the black one on the other guitar. That's more studied light metal, and a design that is that has anticipated the use of light metal. This one I designed in 2007, and I didn't have any light metal in mind. So it has a tendency to resonate a bit too much. It normally a bridge should conduct. It shouldn't dance along, you know. It should conduct the dancing that's going on all over the place on the guitar. But it shouldn't be a dancer itself. It shouldn't vibrate too much itself. And the other light metal compensates for that. But you've got to try those things, because you need references. How does like pot metal? What would it sound like? Or like, yes, this is the kind of aluminium you find literally everywhere. But it gets one curious, and then you try it, you check it, behavior, sound, frequency spectrum, and yeah, it gives you an idea where you are supposed to go. That's the LRQC-1 new version. You see, with the smaller notches, and this one is made out of cool catalloy. When you put this one here, it will twang less. It sounds more civilized. It's what you would find on PRS. I mean, the sound. I don't know what alloy PRS uses, but the sound is more even. It's more like PRS. It is not that nervous. If you strike it hard, you will still have the feeling that it's very much the same tone, but louder. With the other one, it's this chrome-plated hot catalloy. Oh yeah, yeah, let's see. Those markings, you know, green and red. That's for me in order to not make any mistakes. The green is the right face, and the R should be legible, like that. And then you have a right face up, and you see, and now the L is becomes legible. That's left face, left hand. The left-handed player has to put them in the studs like this, and the right-hand player has to do it like this. So that's hot catalloy. I mean, you don't get that out of a one-piece wrap-over bridge anywhere, you know. And that's what I wanted, a bit more dynamics, a bit more life, a bit more responsiveness, expression, and everything on board. I mean, twang on board, check. Quack on board, check. And all the rest of those desirable tones and sounds and timbres, I wanted to keep them. I haven't been creating anything new, really. That's it. I wanted to keep them all. I wanted, you know, all the ducks neatly in a row. All are in there. All your favorites, tones and sounds are accessible in a design that on first sight, one part bridge, it has its limits. It really has, but not. It shouldn't have those limits. You can. It should come. It should. I mean, every good guitar should be an attempt, in my view, to be a complete electric guitar. You know those sounds as a guitar player. And sometimes you may ask yourself, why am I going to stage and to the studio, recording studio, with a wagon load of different guitars? Everyone who has been a studio musician like I have been will have asked themselves a question. I used to take along a Telecaster, but that was not as universal as I wanted. But that's the mentality, I mean the philosophy behind it. It's very conservative. This looks innovative and out. I mean, this is looks like very advanced post-Klingon technology, but in fact, that's what you have to do if you want to keep with you the good old stuff. There's a lot you have to change to keep things the same. There's a lot you have to change, and the tremolo bridge, of course, almost got. Now. This is my trusty 2007 Dorian Rondo. That one will be issued, but 2020, not 2019. I'm not sure if I can get it out there by the end of this year. It's a hollow-bodied one. I designed it, and this one is also built, not by me, but by a great colleague to my design, Sander de Gier from Rotterdam. I'm very fortunate to have met Sander, because when I build to my own designs, it lasts forever. I've got my drawings and I start and I say, hey, maybe this, maybe that, and maybe this, maybe that. It takes years. While Sander looks at the drawings and says, okay, in 2 months he's got it absolutely right. That's I'm incapable of stopping my designer program, my designer routine running in the background, and it slows me down. I regularly build Telecasters, like this one, you see. I built that one myself, but it's that's easy for me, because I have no designs, literally, and I have no designs on the Telecaster. I don't want to change it. I tend to respect its original specs, so that I can be a builder, just a builder. And then the design program goes into the background, and then at least I can work normal hours. I mean, hours that pay. And that's why I prefer to work with colleagues. It is more economical. If you are designing and building at the same time, what do you earn per hour of work? Very little, actually, because it lasts too long. You see. Now, mind you, this is the LRQC number 5. We had the 1, the 2, and this is a 5. A tremolo bridge. It's got a specially designed diabolo-shaped studs made from the hardest tempering you can have on on brass, on yellow brass. And inside there's a little ball joint made out of titanium. And the springs, they are not in there yet, because I ordered the wrong ones. These are too long, you know. The springs, they go in these tiny holes. I don't know where can you see them? Like this, but then on the other way. And they go straight down, not up. Okay, the springs go vertical, and it's a bit of a joke. It's what kind of a bridge is this? It's a spring through body bridge, not string through body, but spring through body. Springs go right through, and you adjust them at the back with a kind of wing nut kind of thingy that you can. 3 go in there, 1 in the middle and 2 right next to the middle one. You can use more. You can use up to 5 springs, but there's a hole. The holes are for the springs under the bridge, so they might as well be in this guitar and in this bridge, because you wouldn't see them anyway. They're hidden behind the bridge itself. But now that I have to wait for the shorter springs, I can still test it for conductivity, for sound, for completeness, for presence, for harmonics and all. But I can only use it in the least used direction, and that's like this, you know. Here it won't do a lot. What I needed really was, you know, tremolo bridges usually change the sound of a guitar. I mean, pretty dramatically. I mean, a Fender knife edge tremolo bridge, synchronized tremolo. Firstly, it adds an enormous weight of metal to the entire construction and springs, and it affects the sound. Everybody knows if you Clapton block a Fender vintage style bridge, so you close it up, you put a fitting block of mahogany between the tremolo weight and the end of a tremolo cavity. You've got a dear Clapton type of block, and then it sounds a bit more woody, and the sustain is a bit longer, markedly, because when you use it as it is intended, it makes contact with a few screws, really. That's the contact it makes to the body. It has no full contact between metal and wood, as has a Telecaster ashtray bridge. So it's markedly different. And Bigsby, a bit the same thing, but Bigsby's, they take, I like that sound very much, but it takes up a lot of space. And again, there you add a lot of metal to the entire construction. It affects the sound. Everybody who has ever mounted a Bigsby on a standard Telecaster certainly knows what I'm on about, you know. But this one, yes. The zooby jazzy sound, you know. That's neck pickup. Those are the two together. Sustain goes on forever. And the tuning stability. The tuning stability, well, you guessed it, it was predictable. It would be very, very stable indeed, whatever you do with the tremolo bar and how vigorously you use it, because there are no little interconnecting parts that can shift relative to each other when you work the bar. You know, it's a one-part bridge. And then you have the four ways of threading it, stringing it, hooking and over. That takes a bit longer to stabilize. The way I put them in here is over, down the hole, and up again, and you see the ball ends are all on top. It helps a bit with the distribution of the tension. That the bridge is not being pulled like that, but it's being pulled more like that. And as you can see, if you work the bar, now it's in its lowest position. But the string action, I hope you can see it, it doesn't change a lot when you work the bar. That's more than 2 tones. But if you watch the string action, it doesn't change a lot. If you do that with the Strat, the difference is a lot more. And that's because, in fact, what you have here is, in reality, what we have here, the saddle rim, it is very much like a Telecaster barrel saddle rim. It's a rod, actually, but you don't see it because it's rounded. It's a 2 millimeter rounding radius in front, which is clearly visible, but just in the holes, you see, where the strings go, it is rounded as well. So it's like if a 4 millimeter diameter rod is being driven right through. So the bridge doesn't do that so much, but it rolls. It rolls. The titanium balls, I call them screw balls because they are ball screws, but the ball end screws, but the ball end has a bigger diameter than the screw itself. So I turn it around, so I call it a screwball. The screw balls of a spring-through body bridge. I mean, how crazy can you get? So, and with the Bixby, it's a bit the same thing. It's a rod that rotates. It's not something that goes up and down. So I've got a bit like both advantages. And the tuning stability, if you really want it to stabilize directly after stringing, you use the complicated method. Like you put it in here, go down, over again, and then over the rim. And then you can do, it gives a very strange side effect, actually. Because it's like stringing a classical guitar, really. If you see, with this one, I don't know whether it's clear enough, but this string, I mean the highest treble string, I was stringing it, but I was this was the 5th bridge I already put on, and I was still using the same set of strings. So sooner or later the thinnest one is going to break because it's being threaded in different ways all the time, and it's going to break. So the ball end broke, and I could do something, but I thought what on an electric guitar is a bit crazy, but it's quite, I've played the classical for years, so they don't have any ball end. So without a ball end, you thread it and you do the maneuvers. It's like a naval knot, like they use in the Navy. And and then you pull them just like a classical. You see, no ball ends necessary. So if you buy just a new set of strings and you put it on, there's always a chance that the thin E on a 0-10 gauge, that it breaks immediately after you put it on, and usually it's the ball end that lets go. So then you have to find a new one, and you go through all those 0-10s, all those thin E's, and in the end you run out. But in this case you don't have to. You just remember how you string a classical, and you do it like this. So and the tremolo bridge, yes, this is a static version. The light metal is unfortunately not strong enough to withstand all the movements and all the stresses and forces exerted on it in a tremolo configuration, but they are rather similar. Dimensions are slightly different. This one, I had a tremolo bar hole, an M5 hole, put in because I was planning on trying it and see whether it breaks apart or not. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to abuse it as a tremolo bridge. It's fine the way it works. And it sounds very complete. There is something about aluminium. It's modest. You know, if you put an aluminium bridge on there, it's like if it says, don't mind me, don't mind me. The only thing I do is I let the wood upon which I am resting, I let the wood do the talking, and I let the pickups do the talking. Don't mind me. It's so that's so typical about aluminium one-part bridges. Mainly, I'm not saying it's the same thing with the other types or two-part bridges or TOM bridges. No. With one-part bridges like these, wrap overs or quick changers. Mine is a quick change type, and a wrap over together. You see, they don't. They behave differently because you have one metal, no little parts, nothing gets lost, and then the difference between the kind of metal you use becomes a bit more apparent. And yes, aluminium one-part bridges, like for instance the PRS SE bridges of 10 years ago, they were polished aluminium. They sound, modest. They don't impose the character of the metal on the guitar. And some people like that very much. The others demand brass. So if they want brass, they get brass. We'll give them brass. Okay, that's it for the moment. Or what do I forget? Oh yes, I've been busy. Handiwork. See? I'm going to send these to my colleague in Hong Kong, and he's going to make plastic versions, BOM plastic, machined plastic, not injection molded, but CNC. This one I had CNC roughly out of sycamore, and the rest is handy work. It's sanding, polishing, and then that's a Dorian Dyna pickup, DNAH. Definitely not a humbucker. It's the one that goes in the middle in single coil equipped guitars. It's the one that goes in the middle. You have a single coil here, single coil there. And this pickup does in no way function like a humbucker, because the coils, each of the coils are voiced to the single coil you have in here. Where do I have my single coil? That's it. That's the Dorian single coil cover. I needed a single coil, just like in the bridge in a Telecaster that has 1, 2, 3-point suspension, so that it can slightly tilt. The same philosophy is applied here. If you want to place a pickup in the middle, of which the coils are voiced to accommodate to work together with the outer coils, the bridge near the bridge and the neck near the neck, and not to each other but to the others, then you need 12 adjustable pole pieces, so that you have the full range of spatial arrangement. Let's say a pole goes out, a pole goes in, and then you can balance out the so-called Dorian SHS, single hum single, although it's not a humbucker. It's a cohabitating twin, let's say. Boy and a girl, born at the same time, fraternal twins, and they each have their own boyfriend and girlfriend, but they live together in the same apartment. See, but they are not a humbucker. So that's what I have been doing, and I've been doing it all, of course, in the service of the quack, and the others too. I mean, to make sure your guitars have the quack, that's the most difficult part, especially when you want to keep everything else. I mean, it's easier to do trade-offs. Okay, I want that quack sound, and I don't care whether I lose the twang or not. I've got another guitar that does the twang. Okay, I didn't feel that was necessary. I mean, it's an attractive logic, to say you can't have it both ways. Yeah, you can't have it both ways. You have to choose for the one or the other. If you want a good quack, yes. I'm sorry you lose the jazzy, smoothie sound, or the twang would be a bit so-so. I don't know. It's I call that attractive logic, but as Richard Dawkins would say, is it true? And there's only one way to find out, and that's try, and try again. Okay, bye to you. Thank you.